Yeah, good, because that's not very good, actually. I don't like it.
Nah.
Just a little trick.
A punt, as they say.
Okay, let's come back to show proper. And Chris, following on from Annie's theme, something in what's... Huffington Post.
Yes.
8 mistakes that make good employees leave. It sounds like kind of on the same theme, Chris, so take it from there.
Very much so, I think. It says that employers make a lot of stupid mistakes.
No, sure.
They have a lot of rules they don't need. They treat everyone equally when the suggestion was they shouldn't. They should treat people on the basis of their talent and performance. They tolerate poor performance. They don't recognise accomplishments. They don't care about people. They don't show people the big picture. And they don't let people pursue their passions. And they don't make things fun.
There you go.
They're the key faults that businesses have.
Yeah. Come here, Mr. Manager. Let me tell you, pin your ears back. This is what you do wrong.
Yeah.
I want the stupid rules bit. You know, I think that's there are a lot of stupid. The bigger the company gets, if you're not careful, the more stupid rules.
Yeah. I have got in trouble many times over the years, but particularly for questioning stupid rules. And why do we have to do that? Because it's a rule. And my mum stopped saying that to me when I was 7. It's not a valid answer.
But also, I think it depends on what the rule is, because it can have a detrimental effect on your customers as well as on your staff. So you've got staff that don't understand and think the rules are stupid, and then you've got customers that potentially contacting your organisation, and because the staff have to stick to the stupid rules, they can't give them any flexibility or actually meet the needs of their complaint or their query. So I think it's twofold on that one.
Yes, I think it's fair to say rules means that no one takes responsibility. People don't have to actually think. All they have to do is decide whether or not a rule is applicable or not. And there are always sort of big gaps and holes which appear.
Yes, you can hide behind the rules, can't you?
Very
Instead
much
of being assertive, which is about I this and I that, and I don't think you should do that, you can say, oh, well, it's just a rule. You can't do that. How does that fit then, Chris, with health and safety? The angle of productivity, because health and safety is often regarded as just a bunch of rules that are burdening us.
Well, exactly. That is the conventional view of health and safety, that it is about rules, it's about legal compliance, which is diametrically opposed to productivity. Yeah. That is the conventional view, both practical and academic, to be honest.
And I know your mission is to turn that on its head.
It is. I take what is seemingly counterintuitive and I argue that well-applied health and safety on the basis of you think through every particular scenario on its merits is productive. And health and safety should be a value, an organisational value. It's down to the employer to show the employees respect. One of the means they do that is by having appropriate health and safety facilities in place.
So again, showing employees respect, leadership, culture. Annie, do you work with companies that have stupid rules? Do you ask them to analyse their rules and say, you really need to get rid of that?
Yes, a lot, particularly when it comes to how those, in customer service world, how those silly rules affect your customers as well as your staff. Staff get increasingly frustrated when they're told they can't do something because somebody in accounts said 10 years ago that it wasn't a very good idea to give credit notes for more than £5 or whatever it may be. That kind of thing. So yes, I've come across that an awful lot.
Yes, I mean, I know we've picked on one element here, which they said, one of the things that employers do wrong is they create silly rules. But let me come to an interesting comment there about they tolerate poor performance. Chris?
Yeah, again, I think it's down to apathy, quite frankly, and a business being unable or unwilling to face real issues. And it's about situation normal, and it's if you can put it off, they do.
Yes, and that has an effect on other employees?
Massive effect. There's been research that's been done over donkey's years now saying that actually money isn't the biggest motivator at all, but one of the biggest demotivators, is not tackling poor performance.
Yeah.
It is, and I hear it again and again and again, and it has such a huge impact. You could have a team of 20 people. You've got one person that's underperforming, and you've got 19 hacked off other people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting how that ties in with the treat everyone equally as a bad thing.
Yeah.
And you say, hang on a minute, equality is supposed to be good, but people aren't equal. So if you give everybody a 30 grand a year salary, and someone's bringing in 50 grand profit and everybody else is bringing in 200 grand profit, well, why are they treating them equally? They're not performing equally, and it does massively demotivate. And then the people doing well, because they're working hard, think, well, hang on a minute, why don't I just take my foot off the gas? It's 5:01, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And it just has such a negative effect on the company, and then they lose people.
I'm of the opinion that sometimes it's because management, whoever they are, just don't like to tackle the issue of poor
scared.
performance. It's a fright, and yet I always believe that when you get promoted to a manager, you're paid to do this kind of tough stuff. That's when your leadership role really kicks in.
I agree with you entirely, and I think it is because they're scared. They don't like to give what we're not allowed to describe as negative feedback or redirectional feedback.
Redirectional.
Whatever you want to call it these days. A, they don't want to do that, but B, as frightening is the fact that they don't give any praising feedback either. That they seem to stick very much down the line. It's not a pleasant thing to do, to pull somebody up because they're not performing, but there are ways and means of doing it. There's the language that you use. You put a plan in place, an action plan. You give them the proper feedback so that both parties know exactly where they stand at the end of that meeting, and go away and make the improvements or not. And then unfortunately, if we go down the or not route, we then move into the HR.
But isn't it a shame when the person at the bottom of that chain that you're talking about is going to be eased out because they're not performing? But the reason they're not performing is that their manager isn't a good enough manager to bring them up to speed.
Which is why I said the action plan, because then what is it? Is it a training issue? What are the issues? And try to actually get to the root cause of the problem and then develop it. There are some people that are just square pegs in round holes. Is there another position within the organisation they might actually be better at?
Exactly. I mean, what's the messages here for companies that might be listening? I think one of them is, if you know that someone is not performing well, don't bury your head in the sand, because it will affect your other employees. They will know that, and then treat it as an opportunity to see if there is another talent that you can tap into that they have. Two messages. Okay.
But the question is, and where I think there's a nub of the problem is what's in it for the manager, because the manager is performing badly.
Well, if I was appraising the manager, if I was the manager's manager, part of their appraisal, I'm assuming, would be how they handle these situations.
Absolutely.
But maybe that's not happening even further up.
Yeah, so it's exactly the same process for the manager. So the manager's manager should be managing the manager. Well, this is getting confusing with the managers. And again, where are their strengths? If they are a natural-born salesperson, get them out the people side, because the chances of them being able to do both are minimal.
They don't.
I must. Oh well, I'd go back and question your first assumption was about businesses knowing they've got poor performance. I think there are a lot of businesses which wouldn't know poor performance if they fell over it. To be frank, they don't know what to measure. They don't know what to look for. I think that's the first problem. I need to establish, what are the key issues, and then they can then measure whether or not they're achieving the appropriate standards or not, and all else follows on from there.
I think that's a really good point, actually. What are the standards? What is a good performer?
Yeah, you should not criticise somebody for not doing a good job if you haven't actually told them what a good job looks like.
I'm going to have to bring this particular piece of the conversation to a close, because I do want to get to the point where we can play Annie's next bit, Shake It Out by Florence and